Hi, my name is Stevie Carmody, and I'm coming to you, the members of First Parish, Unitarian Universalist of Arlington, to talk about something pretty special coming up at the annual meeting on May 19th. Specifically, it's about my request for you, First Parish Arlington, to ordain me to Unitarian Universalist ministry. See, within our denomination, it's the right of the individual congregations to ordain ministers. First, I want to tell you a little bit about me, and then tell you about my understanding of my call to Unitarian Universalist ministry. And then last, about what I understand the relationship between a congregation and a minister is through ordination. So, the first time I stepped foot in a Unitarian Universalist congregation was actually at First Parish Arlington. It was for a coming of age service for my friend Paul. Paul and I were playing in a band together, so we were playing a musical interlude. But better than any note that I remember playing that day, I remember the way that the congregation listened, the way that it leaned in and paid attention to the words that Paul and his classmates were offering in their credo, I believe statements. And it stuck with me. The way that young people were centered and valued and honored and kept safe in this congregation. See, at the time, I was a Catholic, and I was in a crisis of faith. There was turmoil within the Archdiocese of Boston, and I was having deep questions about my own faith. So coming to Unitarian Universalism and coming to First Parish specifically, I started to attend summer services in the summer right after that coming of age service. Coming to Unitarian Universalism meant having time to heal and having time to figure out what I believed, not to be told what to believe. But in the process of deepening my connection to Unitarian Universalism, two things happened. First, people at First Parish started to ask me to step up and do things, to step up into volunteer roles or go to rallies and do other activist things. And it was a place where I started to understand that our faith is deeply connected to the justice work that we do in the world. The other thing that happened is I was starting to understand my call to Unitarian Universalist ministry. I really credit that to Reverend Carlton Elliott Smith, who was the minister while I was in high school. And he really planted the seed. It was at the end of this worship workshop that he was running, and he just mentioned it to me, but it lingered. That call, that suggestion that I might pursue Unitarian Universalist ministry, even if I didn't know how to act on it till later in my life. So after high school, I went to college, and I still understood myself as a Unitarian Universalist, and I still felt a connection to First Parish. But it wasn't until the summer of 2014 that I really returned home. And see, that summer I was working at a Unitarian Universalist congregation, and I got a really bad concussion. So I had to come home and live with my parents while I healed and recovered. But it also afforded me this opportunity to apply to this job that Tina had open as a religious education assistant. And so in that year of serving our congregation in that way, I most gravitated to the youth group. It was a place where I saw a strong culture of youth empowerment and leadership development and spiritual exploration and play and just a great community. And so when Sarah Napoleon finished her one-year interim role, I applied for and eventually started to work as the youth program coordinator. In the meantime, I was also preparing for Unitarian Universalist ministry by applying to and entering seminary at Harvard Divinity School. So, over the 3 years that I worked as youth program coordinator, I was also going to classes to learn about preaching and counseling and religious history and all sorts of things that you need to know to become a minister. And what was happening was that I was taking the bus up and down Mass Ave, the 77, and I was taking my learnings from seminary into the youth ministry there at Arlington and taking the lessons from youth ministry and bringing them back to seminary. And it's really a credit to Reverend Marta Morris Flanagan, Marta, who did a lot of that early theological work with me and really sort of helped me start to understand what the role of parish ministry was and things like that. There are a lot of other steps to becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister. You have to be sponsored by a congregation, which First Parish did a few years ago. You have to do a chaplaincy training. So I worked at Hebrew Senior Life, which is a Jewish geriatric facility, as a chaplain intern. I've gone through a battery of psychological exams. And right now I'm in the middle of a pretty significant formation process, which is my 1-year ministerial internship here at our congregation in San Diego, California. Here I'm doing a lot of worship leading and preaching and serving our bilingual ministry here and serving both sides of the border and learning about justice issues around immigration. And I am getting to run small group ministries of many different types, and especially supporting the young adult and campus ministry here at First Church San Diego. And it's a growing recognition within myself that my call to ministry is especially to youth and young adult ministry. It's not that I don't think ministry to younger people or older people is less important, but I'm feeling a special connection to the type of transformation and development that can happen within that age range, and also feeling a sense that within our denomination we need people committed to that type of ministry. Back in March, at the end of March, I took one of my last steps for formation, which was to go before what our denomination calls the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. It's a body that sort of is the credentialing body for our denomination to decide who can become a minister. And I had an hour-long interview where I preached a homily and answered a ton of questions, and eventually they deliberated and decided that I could become credentialed as a Unitarian Universalist minister. So, once that hurdle was passed, I immediately had an opportunity to seek ordination. So I reached out to Marta and I reached out to the parish committee to ask if First Parish Arlington would support me to ordination. So the parish committee has recommended that we vote on this at annual meeting. And what I really understand ordination to be is it's about formalizing and symbolically recognizing a relationship that we've had over time. That First Parish has been a place that's seen my call to ministry grow out of, especially to youth and young adults. It's a community that helps me understand what Unitarian Universalist means, and it's a place where I understand that we're formalizing a relationship where we are committing to our faith and committing to making the world a better place, and to do that nurturing of spiritual growth and caring for young people that we're committed to. So I understand my ordination as sort of a formalizing and recognizing that. It's also the place where ministerial candidates become ministers and get that reverend attached to their names. So on May 19th, we'll have an annual meeting, and I won't be there in person, I'm here in California, but one of the things that will be on our ballots is a vote to ordain me, in which I hope that you'll strongly consider to ordain me. When I complete my internship at the end of June, I'll be traveling up the coast to go to our General Assembly in Spokane, where I'm serving the General Assembly youth staff. And then afterwards, I'm going to be traveling back across the country, back to the Northeast, to settle here closer to family and closer to y'all. So I hope that you're doing well in Arlington or the Arlington adjacent areas, and I hope to hear some news next week. Be well and have a good day. Oh, if you want to contact me, if you have any questions, my email is steve.kerins.carmody@gmail.com, and you can feel free to reach out to me about ordination. That would be just fine. So anyway, look forward to hearing from you all, and have a great day.